Hey guys, welcome to my review of Sheol by Lunar Oak Studios. This is the first time creation of Lunar Oak Studios. It's going to be on Kickstarter now. So if you're watching this, it's on Kickstarter, unless you're watching this way in the future, in which case, hi. I'm going to go ahead and dive deep into this, so be prepared for a little bit of a slog as I tell you everything you need to know about this game, at least from my perspective. So let's get right to it. Suddenly you're moving faster, you're doing more damage because you have a freaking laser katana. Why not? I was able just to attack the crap out of that thing and kill it. Felt super powerful. It was the highlight of the entire game actually when I did that. And it's a little ho-hum. It's a little boring. Now, as always, thank you so much to my patrons, my YouTube members. All of you guys are huge rock stars, and I am internally indebted to you guys. I'm a very independent YouTuber when it comes to reviewing these board games. If the game sucks, I'm going to tell you it sucks, and I've done it before, and I've burned a few bridges, but you guys make that all possible because I do not rely on any of them, and so a lot of the content that you see, a lot of the opinion that I share is all thanks to them. So thank you so much for that. Also thanks to all you guys who are pausing that ad blocker, commenting, liking, subscribing, sharing, all of that kind of stuff, using the Amazon link in the description. All of that stuff hugely helps, so thank you. And even if not, thanks for being here. I appreciate you viewing, and I hope that you gain some knowledge about Sheol. Speaking of which, let's get into that review. Now, before I get into the review, two things. First, I'm going to actually just discuss high level how to play the game. I'm not going to go through the whole rule book, and I'm not going to even go through all game mechanics, just kind of conceptually, big picture. Here's how this game is laid out. If there are specifics that I need to discuss, I will discuss them as I discuss my opinion on that mechanic so that you further understand what I'm talking about. Speaking of which, for the review, I'm going to be going in order that you would normally experience it. In other words, I'm going to be talking about the different content that you get, and then talk about specific gameplay, specific details, and then kind of high-level overall stuff at the end. Now, this is a prototype, so disclaimer, everything you see here is subject to change. None of this is final production quality. The miniatures are 3D printed. There's just not good cardboard and cardstock, and all of this is a prototype. So just keep that in mind. I won't be reviewing the component quality because of that. No a storage solution. There isn't one with this. It's mostly just baggies. So anyway, let's go ahead and get started. And if you don't want to watch this overview, there is a timestamp below that you can use to skip straight to the review. Okay, now Sheol is literally centered around the Citadel because it's in the center of the board, in case you didn't catch that. There is a flip side of this board for boss battles where the Citadel's like off in the corner and you have this big wide open area to deal with the boss, but I'm not going to get into that too much because I wasn't able to interact with that part of the game too much. So either way, mostly in your scenarios, it's in the center here, and it's laid out in a board where there are different lands that you can go and visit. And when you go to visit the lands, you'll be drawing a story event mission kind of card. There's a mission card and then two different, like other events that can happen in there if you finish those. Those typically come with an objective that you can, a little story and then an objective. And then if you do the objective, you go in the back and you read a little bit more story and get a reward or some sort of thing happens. So anyway, you'll be going to these. You'll see these little spawn points here. These spawn these bad guys. Now, when they first appear, they're going to appear as these blips. And they are going to be all moving towards these center lanes, this alpha lane and this omega lane. And this is called the gravity system. And essentially, it all just kind of merges like this and then beelines to the Citadel to attack the Citadel. When they get there, they attack. They die from the light wall that's protecting it, but they damage the Citadel, which has a life token counter right here. If that reaches 0, then game over, so be sure to defend the Citadel. Now, while you're doing that, you have these characters, obviously, that can move around. Now, when they move around, they'll be moving around these light streams, and you'll be placing multiple different light streams as so to kind of essentially build your own kind of passageways and maps that you can go and just kind of explore around in. And so each one will be unique as you build that. And so you can kind of move around there. Now you'll notice that there are these symbols here. If you get 3 of those, then you can flip them and you get some Umbra, which is just how you pay for stuff at the store. The store is kind of right here. You can kind of see there's different items that you can use and upgrade and whatnot. There are 2 different sides to these lights. If it's not connected to the Citadel, or if an enemy is trying to enter there and like bounces off or something like that, it can go into a dim state. And then the next state after that is that it's just simply removed from the board. Otherwise, there's not too much of a difference between light and the dimmer side. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about the character. And again, I know this is sporadic, but this is just a high-level thing here. So you're going to have a kind of a hero card, and they will have the amount of Lux that they have and Lux vials. This is right here. And essentially, everything you do will cost Lux. So adding more movement will cost Lux. Attacking will cost Lux. Or constructing will cost Lux. Revealing will cost Lux. So all of these are costing this Lux, which is kind of this light source. And so you'll be spending that. When it reaches all the way at 0, you flip the 2 to a 1. You go back to 8. Once you do that again, you'll go to 0. And once you do that again, you'll actually flip your card and this over to this kind of berserk state. And really what this is your last little leg here. You'll also know, oh, and you always have 5 Lux here. You'll also notice these symbols here. That is how many cards you can draw. So you'll have cards that you'll have, including 1 special for the character, and all of these are unique to the character, but as you can see, there will be a few repeats, no more than 2 from what I can tell, and you'll just kind of be drawing, well, okay, there's 3 right there, so I lied. This was not shuffled. Anyway, you'll be getting all these different cards, and they do different things, Master of Arms. You can use them to defend, so if you're going to be damaged, you can use it to defend by discarding it. You can use it to help save. So in other words, you can save -1 Lux for a movement, or you can use it for the main ability here. So there's a lot of versatility there. Each one is doing different things, and there's a lot of different abilities that you can be doing from that. You'll have a light torch of some kind, in this case a hand torch, and that will allow you to reveal, and it will also allow you to build these light paths in the same pattern there. And then it has an overload. Essentially, if you use it to construct, you can place 1 tile. If you overload it, you can place 2. Then you have to roll a die to see if you damage it. Once you get 2, it becomes damaged and you'll have to repair it. Weapons work similarly. They'll have a range of some kind. They'll do a base damage, and then their overload, in this case, it gets a bonus attack. Normally, it's just extra damage. And then again, you'll have to test to see if you have to repair this as well. The only 2 other things you need to look at is that each character here has a different critical effect that they get to do. They have their base movement, and then how much movement they can get per purchase of more movement points. That's really it for the characters. Each one's unique. The deck, you're moving around, you're doing different objectives, you're building this path here, you're trying to defend this. Meanwhile, these enemies will be appearing again first as a blip, and then with a reveal action, you can reveal them. Now, as a blip, when you roll to attack them, only 2 out of 6 hit. At a reveal, all 6 hit. So they're much easier to deal with once they're revealed. Additionally, when you take them out, they'll get an Umbra. The symbol on the bottom tells you which kind it is. In this case, that was a Devourer. So that you would place the miniature there. Before that, you don't know what it is. Each one has different stats, along with a reveal thing. So for instance, if you reveal a lurker, they're going to charge you, whereas if you reveal a moth, they're going to be running away from you. If you reveal a devourer, they will place different coral blockages, so they kind of block your path, and so on and so forth. You'll have heralds, which can spawn based off of rolls you get, and eventually they build up and appear kind of in a corner, and then kind of just do their own little AI thing, and they have a lot more health. You have the track here, and each round this will go up, and once it hits a spot like this, you'll reveal a big nasty thing that happens, and now that's in play, and that can happen multiple times. You have your Citadel board here. This is where you'll be building different upgrades, where you'll be building up this Citadel. And really, that's it. You have your mission cards here that work much like the lands here, so I'm not going to get too into that. But really, when it comes to the Sheol, that's it in a nutshell. I know I just laid a whole bunch out for you, but I'll explain it a little bit more as I go as well. Okay, now first things first, I want to, again, I'm not going to be talking and critiquing the rule book. It's still a work in progress. I'm going to be talking about the story. Obviously, I don't want to spoil things. And again, it's a work in progress as well. What I will say for both of those is they are sufficiently along. So the rule book is quite lengthy and has all the rules laid out. And I was able to learn the game just from reading the rule book. And so that is a good sign there. It's definitely starting to be well put together. They actually have a lot of images that are helpful and a lot of breakdowns. So that's looking good. So that I'm not worried about. As for the story, I don't know about the scenarios because I didn't get a whole bunch of scenarios, but each scenario will have a little bit of a briefing and a debriefing. But all these land stories, these are all done. And these are all translated and they read good from what I've read. The options there, and as you can see, there's a ton. So I'm not too worried about that either. They seem to be well along on both of those fronts. All the lore seems to be written. They have a nice little lore book that they sent as well that I was able to read to kind of learn about the game as well. So rulebook seems okay, ready for Kickstarter. Story seems okay, ready for Kickstarter. And obviously they have prototypes to send out for review as well, so no concerns there. I'm going to start with a huge positive here, and one of the unique things about Sheol, and that's the gravity system. I kind of talked about, let me take some blips here. You'll be spawning, so you'll have essentially a little symbol die and then a direction die, and you'll roll these at the end of each of your whole player rounds, and it'll give you a symbol, in this case a circle, so all these circle ones. And then it'll give you a alpha or an omega, in this case also a plus. And that's where you'll be spawning different things. And so you'll be spawning on these, and you'll be going towards the omega, which is right here. So you'll be going towards there, but flipped. Spoiler alert. You'll be going here, you'll be going here, and here. Okay, so that's where those spawns will be. If I had rolled a triangle, they would have gone here, here, and there. And if I had rolled a alpha, then they would have spawned closer to the alpha. Now, once you spawn those, you'll then be rolling a movement die as well. And notice here it says, again, to the omega. So they will move all to the omega. It goes very quickly, how that works, as you can see. And eventually, they'll get into here. Right? And so eventually they'll, let's see, this one ended up here. And then they'll just start beelining it towards the Citadel. And again, they'll pretty much throw themselves there. They'll do a little attack and then kill themselves. So they'll die, they'll damage the Citadel. That's not good for anybody. They'll probably be damaging some of these. So this guy, once he moves here, would be flipping this and damaging this. And then if he did it a second time, he'd actually break it and suddenly this whole part would be disconnected. So they'll be kind of doing that. But for the most part, everything is swarming in here and it really does work. You'll end up spawning quite a few of these, more than you can kill. And it's kind of almost a built-in timer there, right? Where first of all, your lux is a little bit as well, but really all these blips are just going to be moving into here and then funneling in a very satisfying way. Again, it's super simple to do. You just move them and you're done. It's very easy to kind of upkeep, but it does give that sense of you won't see a whole bunch out here. They'll definitely be moving in and then funneling in. And so you're going to have these kind of choke points where you're going to be dealing with this or building light walls to hopefully slow them down or something like that. Either way, the gravity system works very, very well and it's very satisfying. And I think it's very intuitive as well. It's just smooth. It's streamlined. It's a great mechanic. Okay, next up I want to talk a little bit about the characters. I was surprised with how unique they feel. So you have 3 actions, and everybody kind of has this 8 lux, and for the most part they all have 2, at least at the start here. But that's really where the similarities end. So just fundamentally, let's just look at the character here. So here we have the Monad and the Breathless, a sniper and a melee person. Now you'll notice here that they have the same lux, but the Monad is drawing 1 more card and it has 1 more hand limit of 4 instead of 3. And that can change even more. But for now it's 4 and 3. And then of course you have the fact that both move 3, which is kind of nice. There are some that only move 2, like the Pioneer here, only moves 2. Additionally, when the Monad purchases an extra move, they get 2 movement points versus 1 movement point per purchase. That's a big difference there. Additionally, they'll have this critical, which is different. In this case, as a free action, you can move in an adjacent cell and attack again. Again, another attack. Definitely damage dealing here. The Pioneer, as a free action, you can build a path in the Lantern pattern, so you get a free build action. Very much a part of the build here. Then you'll notice their equipment. So here, they just have a little hand torch. They can only build 1, maybe 2, and it's all adjacent to them, either to the left or right or in front of them. Here, their light spear, again, is only melee, only a range of 1. They're only hitting 1 person, but it's doing 3 damage, and their special or their overload is a bonus attack. Compare that to the sniper, where the sniper rifle can't even attack at all right next to them, can only do 2 or 3 out, and it's hitting 1. They only do 2 damage instead of 3. Instead of a bonus attack, they just do 3 damage. And then they have the flare launcher, which again cannot do right next to them, and instead has to do 2 out, but they'll do both of them, which is nice. And again, they can only construct 1, maybe 2. So already right there, that's quite different. And of course, it keeps going. For instance, you have the Cyclops, who has the impulse cannon, which is just shooting and hitting everybody, not just 1 person, but everybody in a line up to 2. And of course, then they have the light gun torch that also does that. So they're very like angled straight for the impulse cannon here. And you'll also notice that the impulse cannon has a higher break point, so you can do this more often before it actually breaks and you have to repair it. But then it gets even more. So these cards, again, are very unique, and each deck kind of has a theme. And so you have, you know, the safe trails. During a teammate's turn, give him or her 3 movement points. That's huge, especially for these slow-moving characters that can't move as fast, where you can get them a lot. Or maybe you're a Lightstream Surfer. Use this card to move the character to a connected light path within 5 cells. This is huge. This is an instant, you just moved 5 cells without using any of your movement points. That's great. And then they, of course, they have, you know, different things, but they also have this special here. And this card, for instance, pay 3 Lux points and 1 action. So this is expensive. Choose to jump to a near cell or reveal an adjacent enemy, then you can attack. And what's great about these is they increase even more. So at level 1, you get to repeat this effect 1 time if you have the first level complete, and then you can move 2 cells. If you have the second level of the Citadel complete, you can repeat the effect 2 times and then move 2 cells. And if you have the Citadel completely complete, you repeat this effect 3 times and then it can move 3 cells. So you're just kind of attacking and moving around and killing people. That is something only the Monad can do, that it's unique to them, and it's super powerful and super cool to do. Now, compare that to the Breathless, the Sniper, who has all these different things like, for instance, target acquisition. During the attack turn of an ally, you can increase his range by 1. They're very much on range and moving around like that. But then they also have like Oblivion Marksman. Again, you pay 3 Lux and choose and do an action, but you choose 2 enemies at a minimum distance of 3 and max of 6, reveal them, then attack them using the compromising damage of the weapon. Compromising damage meaning the one that can damage the weapon itself. So you're able to use that, super powerful, multiple, and again, then you get to choose 3. Then you get to choose 4 and max is 7, then you get to choose 5 and max is 8. So suddenly you're just sniping everybody around. Super, super cool. You could also have somebody like the Pioneer, who's really built around building the Lightstream. You can have the Lightstream Specialist. Move a path from a cell in a range of 3 to another cell in your Lantern pattern. Of course, you can interact with it even different. Demolition. You actually pay a Lux and an action to destroy a path. You're destroying a Lightstream in range 3, but then you deal 2 damage to every enemy orthogonally or adjacent to the destroyed path. So suddenly you're just exploding a light path and killing everything around it. So you can get stuff like that, which is super cool. Light Turbo Blades are unknown, where they can build an extra path. And then, of course, they have their special, which is an impact detonator, which is kind of similar. Again, you reveal the shadows in all of the squares surrounding you, even diagonally. Then you reveal all the shadows surrounding each shadow that just revealed even diagonal. So you reveal the shadows around you, and then around them, and then it gets to repeat it. So then around them, and then around them, and then around them. So it's kind of this explosion of revealing everything around you. Super, super cool, and again, quite unique. So all of that combined, I guess, is just to say that I was very surprised with how unique these characters are. For whatever reason, I think it may be because they all seem to have the same action and the same looks, and then very close to movement, that it seemed kind of similar at first glance, but that is far from the case. If you're playing the Monad, you're going to be feeling much different than the Pioneer, who's much different than the Breathless, who's much different than the Cyclops, or any other characters that I'm sure they are going to introduce. So definitely a positive there. All right, yet another positive is just how unique the gear is. Now, I kind of showed you some starting equipment here, but some of these get really cool. And again, I don't have them all by a long shot. And again, all this repeated art is not the case. It's not final. In fact, there will be some things that maybe don't even have art. In the end, they're going to have tons and tons of art. But this one is a light barricade. You notice that this gun shoots 3 right in front of you, just like a wall of it. And on top of that, notice it gets a whole different way of moving or shooting. It shoots actually an extra one, a 4 instead of 3, and it essentially goes 1 farther out as well. And your light shields soak up double damage. So all the light shields that you have, which are these cards, soak up double damage. So instead of 1 per damage, it's 2 per damage. So that's really, really cool. So it's kind of almost a defensive weapon that has a whole different kind of way of attacking afterwards. Or how about a laser katana? So the laser katana, you gain +2 to your base movement while having it because everybody runs faster with the knife. Again, it is only a melee here, but it's doing 3 as a base, and then of course you get the bonus attack. But suddenly you're moving faster, you're doing more damage because you have a freaking laser katana. Why not? And again, it'll have some cool art, I'm sure. Or how about a burn bazooka? This one's doing a base 4, where the overload is a 5. And again, it shoots 2 in a row, but it's, again, high damaging, and it's called a burn bazooka. Who doesn't want that? You can also upgrade your lanterns. First of all, they can have a defense against being damaged, so this is harder to damage. Again, you're only building 1, but notice it's kind of making this kind of light up here. But this is, I think, kind of unique, too, that you can actually get extra defense so that this doesn't break as easily. Or how about a light wall? Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All in front of you. It's just this wall of light you get to build when you're revealing. And then, of course, when you build, you do 2 or 3, but it's a little bit more expensive to do. However, damage the lantern to avoid all the damage from an attack. So you can use this light wall, essentially, this lantern, to soak up some damage. So all the damage from the attack is actually put onto the lantern here, which has a resistance of 3. So it's a little bit harder to actually break as well. So a very defensive tool that also can just reveal everything in front of you too, or build a whole line of light stream, which is great. You can also get some other equipment here, like arrow recovery. Return your character to the Citadel. That is huge, huge. You will be surprised, especially with these slow plotting ones that only move 2 with a +1, only if you spend another Lux, just to get back if you're trying to change it, like, oh, I was here, now I need to be over here. This is huge. Or how about some Lux boosts? The first incremental movement does not cost Lux, so you get that free movement right away. That's huge. That's awesome. So there's a lot of, I just dropped them. There's a lot of different equipment here. And again, it's all super unique. That's not including the items, which are also unique as well. And speaking of the items, this is another plus. So as you're kind of walking around and you're going around, anytime you are connected to the Citadel, you can shop. You can essentially send for things and get them. So shopping is available to you from pretty much anywhere you're going, because you're not really often going off here. You can get damaged or pushed or stuff like that, and you end up, it costs you some Lux, and it's not a good thing to get off the light stream. But you can buy these items anytime you want. And you have stuff like a solar sail or a repairing paste or a reflex sight or a R grenade and all these kind of things. And the items are cool because you can upgrade them. And you can buy that at any time, which is super great. And I mean, there are a lot of items. So the remote shopping is very cool too. It's just a convenience factor. It's cool that it's always there. It's always an option. And so as you're kind of getting this Umbra and all that, you're like, oh, now I can spin, I can go buy this. And so you'll buy the item and replace it in the shop. And very cool thing as well that I really liked. Okay, now there are 2 negatives that you might have already noticed. So stop me if you've heard this before. But the flat player trays are a bummer. It's just kind of finicky. You can knock them around. And so kind of moving, and you move them around so much, like, okay, I moved 1, I moved 2, I did an action, and then I moved 3, and then I spent 3 Lux here. And then these cards, as well that are just kind of flat on here. It actually kind of cools how it overlays them. I kind of like that. However, it would be super nice if this was just a player board. Really, I think this needs a player board. Now, I have no idea what the stretch goals are, and so I may look kind of like a doofus talking about this if they already have this planned or if they have it on the Kickstarter right now, but a player board would go a long way here, I think, because for the most part, this is pretty static. You have your character, you have your 2 weapons here, you might have some kind of equipment, and you might have some items. But in general, this is all kind of set in stone on what this is. So even just this as a player board, I think would add a whole lot to just the ease of play of the game. I think that'd be huge. Now, if you can hold your deck there and, you know, your excavators and some other stuff there, I mean, that's even cooler and even better. But at least this base part here, I think could really use a player board just to make it a little bit nicer. The other thing is this Citadel. Now, there are 2 other characters here, but you can't see them because the Citadel's in the way. Now, I talked about this a little bit with The Great Wall by Awakened Realms as well. It's cool that there's this wall. It's cool that there's the Citadel, but it's not very practical when playing. So it's kind of neat, and as you move out, maybe it's okay. And obviously the Citadel more than the standee would be better because at least you can kind of see through the layers. But it is kind of a bummer when you, like, I ended up moving this. So this is cool, especially when first starting out, but once the game's playing, I'm doing that. I'm moving it so I can see all the characters, see the blips over there, see all that. All of that was hidden from you. Well, guess what? It's hidden from me too. You're at head level. We're like right next to each other here. So this can block part of the board, and it's kind of a bummer because it's super cool. Even just the art looks cool. I'll review this when the game's final, and I'll judge it then as well because, again, I know you can see through the layers maybe a little bit. But for the most part, when something's that tall, it's blocking something behind it. Okay, now I kind of alluded to this a little bit when showing you this board here, but another negative I have, and it's not a huge one per se, but the game can be a little finicky. Moving the blips and all that, it's super easy. What's finicky is if you get in some situations, like, for instance, the Monad here, and I hope I'm the Menad, I don't know if I'm saying that right. Anyway, because they can only reveal one in front of them, and they're only doing one at a time, and they can only attack right in front of them. What you end up doing is you'll be here, right? Let's say that's not here. And then you'll move, and then you'll do an action. So that would have been 3, so that's a 2. To lay down a tile, and you'll lay down the tile, let's say, or to construct, right? And then you'll move, and then you'll do an action, and you'll build the next one. Do you see the issue here? And then you'll move, and then you'll do an action, and then you'll place the last one here. That kind of moving this, moving that, moving that, moving this, moving that, that's kind of annoying. It's not the worst per se, and it's not finicky in a way where it's like you're moving damage with enemies, and you know, sometimes you get stuff on the board, you got to group together. It's just kind of a little bit of back and forth, and then moving this to moving this, to the point where, and it's up to your players, I guess, but we got to the point where it's like, yeah, okay, we have 3 movements, so that's just going to stay there, and I'll just move 3. Everybody's watching. We can figure out if I moved 3 or not. So that way I'm not at least doing the movement each time. Additionally, even the 3 actions, you can maybe do that without this. Now, you notice this can go up to 5, and I'm sure there's probably either in the story or through items or something it gets more, and 5 actions might be a little much to try and like track in your head, especially with reactions and stuff like that might happen. But at least for the 3, we just tended to do it in our head and stopped with the kind of finicky movement and tracking of it. Okay, now back to something positive, and I kind of already spoiled this, but these cards are fantastic. These are really, really good. Now, as you might have realized, I'm a sucker for card games, actually. Secret of mine, I love miniatures, but card games are a lot of fun too. I've played more Magic the Gathering than I care to ever admit in my life. It made me seem like a huge loser. So, hours, like in a day. Anyway, these cards are really good. You could just do a lot of fun things. I like seeing a Fearless Leap where you can actually jump to another part of the light stream. So if there was like this over here, you could actually go like that. Super cool. The surfer thing's neat. All of these are just really, really nice, and I like them a lot. I like using them. I like the versatility, the fact that I can use this to defend, I can use this to discount, or I can use it as that. The fact that all of them are for 3 is great. You can combo them quite well. For instance, even with this Monad's Ecstasy, if you're getting criticals, guess what? You get to do the critical where you get to move and attack. I took out a whole Herald by myself between those two. I got 2 criticals. I was able just to attack the crap out of that thing and kill it. Felt super powerful. It was the highlight of the entire game, actually, when I did that. So these are really, really fun, especially these. These are a ton of fun. And again, they're all unique. And so I haven't even shown you the Cyclops one, but he's kind of like the tank, one-man army, so he can increase his damage. He can safeguard other people. He can gain more defense. He can do like a shockwave where he just pulls people in and just does all sorts of really cool damage. And it's a lot of fun. And again, he has a charged Lux emitter where he just gets to push things and damage them and do all that kind of fun stuff. So the cards are a huge highlight for me, and I really enjoyed them. And I wanted to make sure that I pointed that out specifically, not just part of another thing. So definitely a positive worth noting. Okay, another negative, and this is, I think, probably the biggest stickler for many people, especially people used to my channel. And I guess I'll explain a little bit. So these cards are super cool, and I talked about how awesome it is to do this. And it is awesome, for sure, right? I mean, you're attacking this guy here. He's just the standee version right now. And he kind of spawned over here, and we had to go and attack him. And so you're attacking him. And, well, how do you attack him? Well, you have a die. You roll the die. That's your damage. So if your damage is 3, well, this is a hit. Just did 3 damage. Okay, and then I could roll again, and I could get this one. Well, that's a plus, so it's 4 damage. So I did 4 damage to him there. That's 2 attacks. As you can see, the attacks are very straightforward. You're just rolling a die, and you're doing it. You're not applying it to really any defense or anything like that. And really, I guess it's so deterministic with just the 1 die roll that it's a little ho-hum. It's a little boring. There's not really that huge excitement level. There's no exploding dice. There's no crazy special moves that allow you to roll a whole bunch of dice and then count all that. And there's no multi-stage event to it where you roll that and then you have to do this. Like that defense roll often does that because it's the second thing. Like, oh, you may have done that attack, but I could still defend. None of that. If they do damage, you're going to be discarding these for your defense, or you're going to be taking a wound. It's very, very straightforward, very minimalist. And so this game is not focused so much on the combat. There's a lot of combat in it, a lot of weapons, and you can do cool stuff, but when it comes down to the attack, it's just a die roll. All right, another positive. It's time for another positive here. This Lux, and the fact that it's so limited, is really cool because you can keep spending for more. Now, how this works is you'll pay 1 for the first batch, you'll pay 2 for the next batch, 3 for the next batch, so it just keeps doubling, right? Or tripling and then quadrupling. And so it gets very expensive very quick to move around a lot or to do a lot of these different things, especially when you get ones like this that cost 2 to do, any kind of building or anything like that. That gets kind of expensive. And this is a very finite resource. By the time, if you're at the 1 and you're at like here, you start to really get worried. Because not only that, but a lot of this is your life as well. And so you don't want to die. The last thing you want to do is have to flip this over. I'm going to go ahead and show you the flipped side here, just so you can see. But this is not a place where you want to be. You do not want to be here at all. This is not good to be, right? If you're here, you're in trouble. You only have 5 at this point. You have 0 otherwise, and it's dire straits at this point, right? And you can kind of recover a little bit, but for the most part, this is not going to end well. And so that loss of Lux, that finite resource that seems to be now, there's probably some items, I haven't looked at all the items or equipment that can help with that a little bit, or even abilities or certain characters, or events, I don't know. But for the most part, losing Lux is lost forever for this game session, and you get that kind of sense of dread that I really like. You get very finicky and very penny pincher with your Lux. Like, I don't know if I want to spend that 1 Lux on that 1 movement point. It's 1 Lux. Yeah, it's 1 Lux less than I had before, and that adds up. And so as the mission progresses, you start with like, oh, I got plenty. I got 2 refills. I got 8 in each one. I'm good to go. I'm going to spin all this and I'm going to hurry up and do the first mission real quick. My first turn. That's cool. That's great. But then you look at it, and by the time you're on your second or your third mission, you're like, I don't know. I'm really stingy with these now. So I really liked that kind of sense of dread and that careful planning that kind of evolves with the game. As you progress farther into it, you get a lot more stingy with that. Now, I kind of spoiled this, but the wound system is nice. So if you recalled, when I was looking through here, there's this card here. Well, that's because, and notice it doesn't look any different, right? You would never be able to tell. When you draw this, that's a wound. So sometimes you'll get wounds, and the wound, this one is corrosion. When you draw this card, you lose an Umbra, and then you discard it. Okay, so you lose an Umbra, and you discard. And there are quite a few. Now, all these are, a lot of these are repeated. Here's just a wound. When you draw this card, you lose a Lux point, and then discard. And sometimes you can get an Umbra sack. You can discard this card to gain 3 Umbra. So every now and then, you're going to get a good one. And then you might get incapacitated where you lose 2 movement points. So suddenly you just slow all the way down. And hey, if that's your 2 movement points, guess you're not moving, at least not without spending. So these are kind of cool. There's not a whole bunch. There's mental obscurity here too, where you lose a whole action. You know, that's not good. Mental radiance. So there's a few here, and some are good, some are bad. Most are bad. But I really like the whole that this gets like put into your deck, and I wouldn't be surprised if in the future there's maybe some permanent ones as well. Most of these say to discard them at the end, so say discard or discard. So I really liked this system though. I thought that was really cool to put that in your deck, and then you don't know where it is, and you're just kind of dreading because it also takes up a spot, right? You're only able to draw 3 for this character, for instance, or 4, depending on which side you're on. Well, if you're only drawing 3 and one of them was a wound, or 2 of them were a wound, well, you only drew 1 card. So it kind of gimps you in that way too. Kind of a double whammy there. Okay, another positive, and this is actually a really big one. It's very fundamental to the game. These light paths and putting them together. I'm going to show you a picture. Here's a picture after my first game session. And as you can see, the map is kind of crazy, and that's going to change every single time. Every single time that you play this, you're going to have essentially a different map, because this light path is where you can move and where you can, you know, shop and do all these things on. And so you're going to be doing that a lot. It's not just the land, and it's not just the spawn points. So that's all that too, or when enemies are making obstacles and stuff like that. But it's really cool to go in here and then try and build this together. And a lot of times you're really trying to decide. So you'll pull one out and you're like, okay, so I could turn left or I could turn right. Well, which one is the right one to do? I don't know. It depends. Are you trying to have somebody bounce off of it, trying to make a wall? Are you trying to get somewhere? Sometimes it might suck because maybe you're going this way and you're like, well, now I have to go that way or that way. I got to choose. If these were all straight lines, now I just have to branch off one way or the other. And you have to place it somewhere. Now you can have it disconnected, but either way, this is now a different map. Now we're going different ways here. It's just nice. It's interesting to build your own map essentially as the game progresses. It evolves naturally. You're all discussing which way to go. Sometimes you might have a whole bunch here and then move that other way so you can see. Again, problem. And then none over here, and all these are spawning. This happened to us. All these are spawning and coming. Like, we better build some here just to slow them down. Otherwise, we might get the, Sheol attacked, and that would be really bad. And really, that leads to a lot of, I guess, the main feel of this game, which is puzzle and exploration. Again, I know there's combat, and you can do some cool stuff there. And there's a lot of else going on. There's development, there's shopping, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. But that sense of exploration and puzzle is awesome. Because, for instance, and I'll explain the missions a little bit here. So, on the test mission we got a mission A, which is the main mission, and mission B, which is kind of a side mission. And I'll go and read these to you real quick. Mission A, to find the fugitive, you need to install a few detectors that will allow pinpointing the position with accuracy. To do the mission, you have to reach a Chronicle land, which is a level 1 land, and carry out a mission action. So you just have to spend an action while on there. And then you'll go to mission C. Mission Test B says, an unusual movements of the shadows must be investigated further. The scientists of the Citadel ask you to scan a few fluctuation points or blips. Reveal 5 shadows. And you just place a counter there each time you reveal them. So, and then you'll do mission D after that. So, that means you have to either go here and you're looking at the map, right? Like, okay, so our main mission says we need to go to a level 1 area. So we need either to go here, here, or here. Well, we could maybe just go to a beeline here, which is nice, except the one we drew, this was literally it, was a curved one. So we're like, well, we'd have to kind of loop around there. We weren't sure if we could or not. And then we had this one here, which had 2 options to build off of. Both would be going towards that. So we're like, well, maybe we'll go to this one, because this one's a little bit farther away from that one. So maybe we'll go here and we'll go to this one. But we kind of debated it because it's right near 2 spawn points as well. We're like, well, I don't know. But that's where we went. So we started building off over here. And then so we did that, and it says go to C, right? Well, here's C. The first detector turns on, but it's not sufficient to pinpoint the position of the fugitive. For each, reach a forgotten land, which is a rank 2, and perform a mission action, then do a challenge. And so you have to do this challenge where you're rolling 3 dice to see if you can pass or fail. Regardless of what it is, it's progressing. You either go to E or F. So then we're like, okay, well, this is right next to it, so let's just go ahead to that one. So now we've built kind of this whole area over here. Meanwhile, we have the sniper person moving over here to start going over here because we suspect we have to go to the level 3, and because they can snipe the blips off of the light path. So they're on this light path here, sniping away. And so you get this kind of sense of puzzlement that you're just trying to figure out where to go and how to go about it and what to do. Additionally, it's kind of an exploration as you explore the lands and you do the different events here. Each time we did that, we'd get another little side mission we could do. So by the time we were almost done with this, we had like 4 missions going on at once. And additionally, I mean, at the very end, right, suddenly an awakener spawned. And so this guy spawned, he spawned over here with this mission token. And he started moving around, following his AI and doing that thing and shooting us for 3 damage at range 3, which is crazy. We had to go attack him. And so we're kind of moving towards him and he's moving away. And so then we had to kind of chase back after him. And then at the end, we had to go to the mission objective and make a mission action to kind of complete the mission. We found the fugitive that we were looking for. But the point is between mission objective tokens on here, I know a lot of people thought this was just tower defense, but while we were defending this area, and that was definitely a thing, for the most part, that was not our focus. Our focus was actually going here and doing these different scenarios and passing test challenges and putting mission markers on the map and then having to go to those mission markers and enemies spawning and having to deal with that. It definitely felt like a kind of more of a normal scenario-based board game with this kind of added tower defense where you're kind of building walls of light to help protect and kind of keeping things off of there. So it's kind of like adding a tower defense system onto a traditional scenario-based board game. And I really liked that. I thought it had a great exploration kind of sense to it. And was very objective focused, which I personally, I'm an objectives man. Let's do the objectives. And so having 5 of those to pick from was crazy. Now, one last thing I want to point out is just another unique game mechanic that I ended up really enjoying, and that's this blip versus revealed system. I like, first of all, not knowing what's there. Now, in this version of the game, I don't know if they're going to spend it or not. There's just really 3 options. I think there'll be more because this talks about a hyper shadow. I don't even know what a hyper shadow is, so I'm assuming that's not a thing, or maybe it is, or who knows. But the idea that these blips are coming, and they have their kind of base attack and defense and all that kind of stuff. But you know there's an enemy here, but you don't know what it is. And then you reveal them so you can do more damage. I like that suddenly now everything hits. You're guaranteed to hit them, which is awesome. But they have a reaction, kind of like an XCOM thing, where once they are in your line of sight and you actually reveal them, then suddenly they react and they do something. And again, like with the lurkers, they're going to charge you. They do 3 damage. And so you kind of want to be careful, because if he's right here and you're right here and you reveal him, well, if that's a lurker, you're getting hit. And so you almost kind of want to maybe move back and do it, or just kind of be cautious because you don't know what's under here. And I really like that. Additionally, it means these are really easy to move. Versus a miniature, it's actually easier, I find, to just slide these around. So those end up really good. And I really liked that kind of reveal mechanic. I like how it changed your attack and how you could deal with them. I liked that they had a reveal action or a reaction to being revealed. I like how their stats changed depending on it. So for instance, a blip has 2 resistance. A lurker, if it was a lurker, this isn't one, only has 1. So they're actually easier to kill once they're revealed that way on top of the dice. So just a nice mechanic that I enjoyed. Okay, now in summary, if you value strong theme and solid gameplay and don't mind a game focused more on having you think than combat, then this is probably a game for you. Now, if you're after lots of action and excitement, then the combat might not provide what you're looking for. Again, it's quite straightforward and just kind of bare bones, I guess I would say, when it comes to actually combat resolution. And it doesn't have that exciting part of the dice per se, because it's just a single die and a single result with a reaction. There's no manipulation of it or anything like that. So as long as you're in for kind of a thinky, more puzzle exploration style game with combat and actions, you know, and attack cards and stuff like that, then this is for you. It's a very unique game. I hope I've helped explain that a little bit. The whole concept of the blips and the gravity system and the light paths fundamentally change how you're used to playing a game when it comes to revealing things and building the light path and all that. It's just, it's a very, very unique theme and a very unique game. You probably don't have anything like this on your game shelf. So leave that as it is, I suppose. But it's up to you to decide if this is a game for you. So I enjoyed it a lot. I like the kind of puzzle theme here. I like the moving around here. Though not everybody in my group did. Some people in my group are very much into the action and exciting moments where, you know, you'd like jump up from your chair and say, yeah, we did it and all that. And that's not really what you would find here. This is definitely a sit down and kind of puzzle it out kind of game. So anyway, that is Sheol. That is currently on Kickstarter, link down in the description below. Again, thank you so much for watching. I hope this helped answer your question, whether you like the game or not, or would like it, or are interested in it. I'm sure the Kickstarter has plenty of other stuff you can see and more explanation on the game itself, so be on the lookout for that. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching. Again, my next video is actually going to be the big Kickstarter news, and there is a ton of news to go over on Kickstarter, so looking forward to sharing that with you. I'll catch you then. As always, thanks so much. I'll talk to you soon.